What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is very long compared to what we normally have, so I want to keep the introduction short and sweet. So, thank you all for tuning into the No Tomatoes podcast. This is the Adventures in Retail episode with 4 of the members of the band. I hope you enjoy it.
That's some pretty complicated stuff to play. You don't have respective hands?
I do?
Absolute trash. Having a good time. Like, just enjoying myself.
He was like so
Just so
supportive.
fun. The song sucks. Yep, that's true. Alrighty, so now we're in our main section of the podcast, which we're talking about retail today. So my first question is, what is your favorite and least favorite part about working in retail or customer service?
Yeah. Well, Bryce, you said you don't work at Family Fare anymore, right?
Not anymore, luckily.
Right, but you did for a while. And I no longer work
Yeah.
at Walmart anymore. But we have a couple stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But why don't we start?
Everybody's here has worked in
Yeah.
retail at some
Why don't
point or
we
another.
start with Adam, and then we'll make our way around back to Ty, because I'm sure Ty's got something to say too.
So favorite and least favorite? Okay, so my favorite would probably be the people I work with generally, because most of them are really cool. I'm friends with them, and I talk to them a lot, and they're actually nice, other than the lazy ones, and they actually probably help keep me sane every day when I go in for work. But my least favorite thing is actually the other people that work at the store that are just lazy and don't do anything. But the most least favorite thing would probably be customers, honestly. I don't know why I like working there, because I do at Meijer. Am I allowed to say Meijer?
Yeah.
Okay. I
I mean,
like
if
working.
you don't care about, if you're gonna trash talk them, if you don't care about your
I
job.
don't care if they try. I don't care. I like working there, and I do like helping customers, but at the same time, it's like there's just a set of customers, like a list that I go through in my head every day that I know are gonna be trouble. Like the old people and Amigos. Every single time you pass them, they're going to ask you the dumbest question you've ever heard in your life. And they will look you up and down. They'll look at your name tag and then look you up and down and then look at you in the eye and say, "Do you work here?" That drives me crazy, especially on a bad day. I just go nuts. And that is my piece.
That's fine. All right.
So favorite part, I guess, was the fact that at Walmart specifically, I don't know about your guys' stores, but you basically clock in, do your crap, and clock out, and you're good. Like, nobody really bothers you outside of work if you don't want them to. So that's what's really nice about working in retail. But what's really not nice is shift scheduling mainly, and dealing with 40-hour weeks almost. Like, they keep you under 40 hours a week so that you can be considered part-time, but they give you like 39 hours.
Oh, man.
They do that.
39.99.
Yeah. Yeah, like as much as possible. So I guess that's one thing that I could do without. But yeah, what about you, Bryce?
I would say favorite part was probably some of the people I worked with. I made some good friends working in retail. I worked at a Family Fare, so I don't know. It was like right in my little hometown community. So I saw a lot of people that I knew and liked. So that was also kind of a good thing. But man, yeah, worst part was definitely the customers who thought they knew what your job was, even though that wasn't your job. Like, I worked in, like, technically it was in produce, but it was like a really specific section of produce. So my job was to stand behind the counter and cut fruit and vegetables all day. But I would get questions constantly about like other things in the produce department. And sometimes I could answer, but most of the times it was like them asking me like, okay, when are you going to get broccoli in again? Or, do you have this in the back? And like just things that I don't know. I just go and steal the stuff and then cut it and put it in containers. I don't know about like shipping information, but I don't know. I feel like it was that, and then like management definitely sucked. Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not going to name like specific names, but the main like store director that I worked with was not fun. I worked there for like a little over 3 years. I think he only complimented me on anything once, and it was just because I was doing it. I think it was because I was doing a good job of like wearing my hairnet all the time, or it was something really weird. But some random rule that he had invented the week before, and then claimed it was always supposed to be in place. But
That's fun. Yeah, for me, my favorite part of working in retail, honestly, it's a double-edged sword on this one. I love working with customers that come in happy and greet you nicely and act like a normal human being. But I really hate, on the flip side of that, I really hate dealing with anybody that's in a bad mood, you know. So I guess my answer to this is customers on both. I love working with customers, and I also hate working with customers because I've had some experiences with customers where it's like I've had a smile on my face for 3 minutes after I talked to them just because they were so nice. And then I've had on the flip side, I've wanted to break something over a customer. So, you know. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Next one is, what position do you fill in at the store you work in? I know Bryce already said that he worked in the produce section. So
Adam, I am a general merchandising clerk is my official title, but I was originally and still am every summer the garden center general merchandising clerk, which means I'm the outdoor guy that works with flowers and dirt and mulch and garden stuff, lifting bags after bag after bag every day. It gives me a workout, but I'm still fat, so it doesn't matter.
we gotta stop eating the mulch.
But it looks so good. It's red and brown and black.
So, me, Elijah, my position that I had at Walmart was OGP, and that is online grocery personnel. And it was just shopping for people that ordered online, basically. So we had to, go through with these giant bins. We had like 10 different baskets in this cart that we had to do, and we would just take our little phone things, scan the item, scan the basket, put it in the basket. It would tell if it was the wrong thing. So it was pretty simple. It got a little bit labor intensive when you had to like stack the crates with like giant bags of dog food or whatever. But it was a pretty good gig. So yeah, online grocery personnel, online grocery. I'm probably not personnel. I don't know. I just know it was OGP. They have way too many acronyms.
Yeah. I already kind of said like I worked in produce, but before that, like when I first started, I don't remember what they called the position. It was something stupid, and it made it sound like the job would be okay, but really my job was just to do just everything that nobody else wanted to do. So it was like when I wasn't bagging groceries, it was, like wrangling carts from the parking lot and cleaning vomit and, dealing with all the unspeakable things people did in the bathrooms there.
yeah.
But then after that, I was a cashier for a while. And I got to the point, I was so bored of being a cashier, I would just bring in, like, books and just read books or just be on my phone until customers came. It was the worst.
So at Aldi, I'm just a general associate. You pretty much, when you work at Aldi, every associate does every job. So like when it comes to cleaning the store, grocery stocking, back stocking, pretty much anything the store needs done, you do as an associate at Aldi. So I'm a stores clerk. I do basically everything at that store. But I mean, yeah, it's sometimes tough because like you when you cashier at Aldi, you're not stuck on the cashier stand. Like sometimes there will be no cashiers in the front because the cashier's actually cleaning, and then there you got your second cashier cleaning, and then you got your third person, because we only have 3 people in the store at any time. So the third person's always doing something in the store. But yeah, that was my spiel at Aldi. What are some good stories you have from work? Good or bad stories?
Good or bad? Good stories.
I have a good one right in the tip of my tongue. If you want to.
Yeah, you go first. You go first. You got that one.
All right. So this is a very weird story. It happened like right before I left. But so there's this new guy. Okay, in my department, I was right next to the smokehouse, so where you could buy, chicken and fries and whatever, potatoes. And so like 2 months, maybe a month before I left, they hired this new kid who I think he was like a senior in high school, maybe a year younger. But he apparently knew this one girl that I worked with in produce. And one day, like, she found a love letter from him, despite having, like, never spoken to him. So she found this love letter, and it was really creepy. He, like, misspelled a bunch of things. He misspelled her name wrong. and, like, and like, apparently she found out, like, shortly after discovering the letter, like, he had been talking to other employees about her and, like, saying, like, kind of talking this big game about how they were going to, like, get together and how, like, they were really hitting it off and stuff, and she had never talked to him. I think she maybe, like, knew of him from school but didn't know him at all. But it was really creepy. And then he left another note, and it was, like, again, like, everything was all misspelled and stuff, and it was like, I feel as though I don't deserve thy love, and it was like all these things about how he just he's trying to be like Shakespeare, but just spelled things wrong. It was terrible.
He's trying to be Shakespeare, but also illiterate.
But then, like, man, and the second note, it was all like, he was all like depressed and talking about how, she isn't responding to his, to his signs of affection and all these things. And she's like, I just want to come into work and make money and leave. I don't, but she, like, he literally, he did all these things and was talking to her, or talking about her with other employees, but he, like, never said anything to her. He was probably too afraid. But she eventually went to the store manager, and they, like, the store manager and, like, the assistant manager had to sit down and, like, talk with him. And it was so funny. He seemed like such a nice guy when he first started working there, and then it just quickly went just so downhill.
If you know
That's
love me, just
thing.
say so. That's funny, though. Is that a good or that's a bad story? That's a bad story.
Oh, it's a bad story. She was, like, afraid to come into work for a while.
Yeah, that's bad. That's creepy. I would never want that. Not that I'm pretty enough.
Did you guys get called back and, like, talked about, had to watch one of those sexual harassment videos?
This is not okay. Do not touch each other's
Say,
genitals.
Show me on the doll where he touched you.
No. So,
What did you learn firsthand?
How to be sexually harassed, obviously.
Oh, no.
oh my God.
Okay.
That explains a lot.
I was never shown any sexual harassment training videos. That's
That's-
probably why that dude thought it was okay.
That should be against the
we
law.
gotta
They
show
should
the
teach you
videos.
these things.
Show the videos that no one watches so that they can watch them.
They're funny, though. The acting is just superb.
It's a little bad.
All right, what do you got, Adam? You got anything?
I actually have the good version of a retail love story, and I don't know if she'd ever listen to this podcast anyways, but we're gonna codename her, as you guys actually may know, Deli Girl.
Ooh.
Deli Girl.
Very.
And me and her aren't even talking anymore.
Ouch.
But it's a good story because it's like one of those stupid romantic comedy movies, except it wasn't funny after a while. So like most romantic comedies. But no, she was this really, really cute girl she's like short, curly, reddish brown hair, gray blue eyes. She was a dream. And like I immediately like found interest in her and even told some of my coworkers. Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. But I told some of my coworkers, and unlike the guy you were talking about, I wasn't creepy writing love letters, except I actually did end up talking to her, becoming friends, scored a number, which I was happy about, and we hit it off. We became good friends. And then another coworker of mine that I also won't name, he was a mutual friend of ours, and he basically jumped in and cheated on his girlfriend to talk to her and flirt with her, and then she got mad because she's like, "You're a bad boyfriend for that," and he ended up breaking up with her. All that good stuff. But so basically, me and her stopped being friends because he made it look like I was a bad guy, which I won't get into that. But the good part. Okay, the good part was we just had a lot of sweet moments. Like she's way too good looking to be laughing and smiling over some dumb thing that a guy like me would say, but she did, and she actually enjoyed my company. We talked quite a bit. She was in the theater, and I once spent like an hour. I spent like an hour one day when I was on the clock when I was supposed to be working when she got off, sitting at the customer service desk acting like I was getting returns from our return cart while I talked to her. And my manager, shout out to my managers that I won't name also, but they are awesome. The one who walked by 3 times and watched me talk to her but said nothing until an hour later and was like, "Okay, I think you should get back to work for the last half hour of your shift now." But like
the moral of the story is Adam's a hopeless romantic.
Adam is a hopeless romantic, and it didn't work out. Hopefully me and her will talk again and become friends again, but it is what it is. She's awesome though.
The saga of Deli Girl.
Yeah. So I have a story about not being able to understand a customer at all because she was speaking Chinese.
No. Chinese.
Fortunately, I don't, maybe it was Chinese, maybe it was Korean. I couldn't really tell. But she had like Google Translate out, and she was trying to find, what was it? It was like peanuts, like raw peanuts, the shelled ones. But at first it translated it to beans. So I took her to the beans, and she's like, "Oh, no. And then she speaks into her phone again, and I'm just like, "Oh, beans, okay." So, and then she actually knew enough English to say raw or no can or something like that. But it turns out we don't even have them in the store. So like, and then she's like, "Okay, I go to Meijer."
Yeah, M gang.
So yeah, that was a super awkward moment that I had there. I even brought my manager over. Was like, "Do we have anyone that speaks Korean?" Like,
She was Korean.
Oh boy,
it's crazy.
I have a story. There's this lady. I was over by the waters, and there's just like 2 pallets full of water, drinking water, mind you. And
Heavy boys.
She goes up to me and asks, "Can you drink the water?" I was like, "Yeah." and she was like, "Okay, which one can you drink?" Okay, let me give you a little visual. You know cases of water bottles that you buy in like any store? They're in cases of water bottles, and then there's gallon waters next to them. And I'm like, "Yeah, you can drink it." And she goes, "But this one says purified water, and this one says spring water." I was like, and? I kind of went, "Yes, ma'am, they are." And she was like, "What's the difference?" I'm like, "One of them has more minerals in it." And she was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." I was like, I don't know what else to tell you. I was like, yes, they're drinking water, and I just kind of walked away. But that was.
Can you drink the
Really?
water?
I was like, yeah.
Maybe
I
she thought it
mean-
was like exotic bottled Flint water, but that's something you'd probably
Exotic
find in like
bottled Flint
Beijing
water.
or something,
Yeah, I don't think we sell that.
or Hong Kong and China or something.
All right. Here's my highly anticipated question. What is the biggest Karen moment you've ever had?
Oh my gosh,
The groan.
there's so many.
I feel like I've had a lot of small Karen moments. I don't know if I've had any like big doozy moments, but like one thing I could think of. It was less of a Karen moment and more just weird, but I had a lady, middle-aged, typical Karen, but she asked me as I was cutting up fruit. She's like, "Does this have pesticides on it, and chemicals and stuff?" And I was like, no, I mean I don't know. I can't speak for what they put on it at like the factory where they package it up. But she's like, no, do you put any on it? Like, are you back there putting chemicals on it? And I was like, no, I'm not dumping pesticides on the fruit after I cut it up.
Yes,
And then it took a turn, and she goes, do you have some that I could put on this?
What?
I was like, oh, you want chemicals? You want pesticides?
She wants to stick it in the
And-
ground and hopefully grows more.
Oh, boy.
I was like, I don't know, I dump some hand sanitizer on it? I don't know. But she was very, very adamant that she wanted some sort of pesticide or something
and
to
this was pre-COVID,
put on the fruit, and
wasn't it?
It was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
pre-COVID.
that's so weird.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Why
And
would
then
you want
eventually she walked
pesticide
away,
on-
but
Listen, I gotta get
Grown
cancer so that
fruiters.
my kids get less cancer, so that their kids get less cancer. So that's my
Yeah.
theory.
They got
That's
a
what
science
she wants to
degree.
get cancer.
So much cancer.
You're just back there. She's just like, I wonder if they're back there rubbing the cucumbers with the hand sanitizer. They're just like,
Smothering it.
oh man. So I guess there wasn't any one huge Karen moment, but it's like people that you were saying earlier, people that think they know what your job is. OGP, their only job is to get groceries, put them in bags. All right, so I have people in the automotive department coming up. Oh, is this drill good? Bro, I don't know. And people keep asking me questions, the same people, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know. That's not my department. And it's like, oh, but no, man, find somebody else that actually works here. So yeah. That was probably the most annoying thing in general as far as Karen moments. There was one guy that just kind of was super rude, and he was just kind of like, "Oh well, now you know how to do your job," because I had to get a manager and have him help me with something because I was pretty new still. So yeah, I've just had some rude people in general, but overall it was all right.
You know what? I think I just remembered a good Karen story, and probably the best one. So, a preface is that the HBC Health Beauty Cosmetics department is my least favorite because I hate going over there and hearing from old men and old ladies about all their nasty, disgusting medical problems I do not want to hear about. I just want to say that beforehand. But I got my Meyer phone, that we all have phones, at least the responsible ones, and I get a call about the HBC department, and I am not an HBC. I don't do that. It's gross. But nobody else was there, understaffed, of course. That does kind of sound like a thrash at Meyer, but you know what? It's the truth. But they're like, oh, she has this Vagisil up here that she said it's supposed to be this price and it's not this price. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm close to the service desk, so I go up to the service desk where the lady's at, and I have the Bluebird, which is a scanner that we use to show pinpoint price and where it's at in the store by code. So I scan it, and I'm like, okay. I go over there to see, and in HBC, I mean, anybody that goes to the store that goes in that department will know all the small items, like the medical items, are so close together. The tag, like the price tags, are just like crammed. And somehow, this Vagisil was like $5. Ended up in the section right next to it that was $3.19. It was a clearance item that was completely different. It was not Vagisil. So I go back up and I explain. I'm like, it is actually this price because you were thinking it was the clearance price of the item next to it. And, usually it's all said and done. They're like, oh, okay, I see, that sucks, but I don't get a few bucks off. I'm about to walk away, and she's like, but wait, that's not the price. I'm like, no. It's like, well, I don't see how that's my responsibility if it's in the wrong spot. Like, this lady was really adamant on getting her less than $2 discount on her Vagisil. And so I was just like, I'm sorry, ma'am, that's not how it works. I don't have the authority to do that. Have a nice day. And I just walked away because I couldn't do it. And next thing, I'm walking past my manager, the awesome manager I mentioned earlier, and I'm about to say something to him. He gets a call. He's like, oh, yep. Oh, no, yeah. Just give her the less than $2 off. It's fine. It's Vagisil. Who cares? So he gets off the phone, and she got her way. And I didn't want her to, but she did. That's my little snippet.
So I think my probably biggest Karen moment that I had was this lady. She had come up to my register, and she had like 3 items, like very, very small for an Aldi store when it comes to items. And she asks me, I'm like literally fresh off the belt, maybe like 2 weeks into my Aldi's career at this point. And she asked me how much these grapes are. And there's a little verify price button. So I hit the verify price button, hit the numbers, the NLU numbers that I had to type in for the grapes. And it said like 89 cents. So I was like, oh, okay, your grapes are going to be 89 cents.
A piece.
Right. Well, what I didn't know at the time that I very quickly learned is that Aldi's does per pound for all of their produce, almost all of their produce anyway. So it's 89 cents per pound.
Okay, that would be a cheap bundle of grapes.
So I rang up the grape. So I verified the grapes. I rang them up, and then it rang up as like, I don't know, $3. And she goes, I thought you said they were going to be 89 cents or something like that. And I was like, well, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong because it goes by pound. I totally forgot. And she goes, I thought you said, and she just goes on like, I thought you said it was going to be 89 cents. And she's like yelling at me at this point. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll call my manager so we can figure this out. As she's basically throwing a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old. And I was like, and I was trying to diffuse the situation in some way, but it's like, what do you do when this lady's screaming at you about $3 grapes? It's like, I'm sorry I told you the wrong price. And I said, hey, I can take them off your order. And she's like, I wanted those. I was like,
then
chill.
Just then get half of them or something.
And I was like, I can either take them off or you can get them for $3. And she was like, I want it. And it was just like, geez, you're very adamant on these grapes.
How old was she?
She was like 70.
That sounds like a 6-year-old or 7-year-old.
Yeah, maybe 65. Anyway,
Is this
later than middle aged?
She was a boomer.
And so anyway, my manager gets up there and she goes, just give it to her for 89 cents. I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah.
Oh boy.
Anyway, that's my Karen story. Alrighty. What is some of the best and worst habits you can starting out in retail that you can create for later? So like, if you are going to start in a new retail job, what do you think are the best habits you can make, and what do you think are some of the worst habits you can make?
Best habit, showing up on time.
Any job, yeah.
Pretty much any job. Worst habit, showing up late. And I don't know, probably
Next question.
You know, getting on your manager's bad side is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would probably be the two biggest things.
Managers.
It usually, if you're in a larger retail business, if you follow the rules and show up on time and do what you're told, you really won't have that many problems. Typically. But
Pardon. I had to clear my throat. A good thing, I mean, for me, because working at Meijer, it's a superstore. It's huge, and even though I'm general merchandise, and I'm usually garden center during the summer, when it's not summer, I'm everywhere on the half of the building that's not food items. So the best thing to do first for me was to learn where everything's at, because it doesn't take long for people to see your badge and say, oh, you work here, so you need to tell me where this is in this department at the other side of the store you've been to like twice. And the worst thing I think you can do is get lazy. Thankfully never let myself, because I had a couple coworkers that were really on, like, making sure I stayed in my prime working state, but including one of my favorite coworkers. She's this sassy older black woman. She's like one of my favorites. She works in the garden center with me during the summer too. She told me, and pardon my French, she's like, if you got a job, don't matter what the job is, if you're getting paid for it, you got to do good. Even if that job is shoveling shit, you better be the best shit shoveler ever in the world. So I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So I kept that to me, and just don't get lazy. Because if you get there for a long time and after a while you get lazy, all the new people, as well as the people that have been there even before you, are going to notice and be like, oh, that guy's lazy as hell. And they don't like that.
Yeah, I would say a good habit is lying, and that sounds horrible, but honestly,
Lie.
like,
Everybody.
I know that's like in the 10 Commandments or whatever,
Lie.
but I don't know, it works for customers. Like,
yeah, lying to
For-
customers is different.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's forgivable.
yeah,
It's
because
in the
It's in the Bible somewhere.
forgiven sins pile.
but no, like customers, a lot of the times, difficult customers, they don't so much care that they get their way. They just want to know, like, just like tell it to me straight, answer my question, and so if you just lie and make it seem like it's impossible, like, if they're asking, okay, do we have this in the back, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna find, I'm not gonna be able to get through all this stuff and find whatever they're looking for. Just say, oh, I was back there earlier looking for someone else and I didn't see any, I'm sorry. Or
I've used
whatever.
that one. I've used that one
Oh,
so
yeah.
many times.
Yep.
I actually don't.
It
use that
works
one
though.
too
It's
often.
probably not ethical, but I don't know, customers like that. If you're just
Yeah, I mean, it's
instead of explaining everything.
instead
Although I
of
work in a
taking
smaller
like
store.
the extra 30 seconds it takes to explain, look, man, it's gonna take me probably 30 minutes just to find this one thing you're looking for in the back. And just be like, nah. Like, save them time, save you time, because chances
Yeah.
are it's probably not there.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
important really
Usually
is this thing?
something that's not on the shelves
Is not there.
Not there.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find it unless it's in like back stock or something. But
And again, it would take you forever to get it anyways, even if it was there. Right.
Oh yeah,
So
it's gonna be buried back there.
yeah.
I have a bad habit too. Something that it's definitely something that like affected me throughout like all three positions I was at Family Fair, and that is leaving right on time or early, because it just kind of screws you over for your next shift. Like if you rush and get everything done and are able to go home early, the next time you are there and you have to stay like till on time or later, it's just going to be so painful. So I always just tried, like, once I kind of realized that, I always just tried to stay till my time was done and then like find something else to do, stay there an extra couple minutes. So, and then yeah, I mean that's a good habit too, because then your manager looks kind of at you better, but it's definitely a bad habit to leave early.
That's true though.
Mhm.
I haven't really I didn't really put that into practice, but I can feel what you're saying about it kind of dragging on so much longer if you get in the habit. Because at Walmart, you can technically leave 9 minutes early and be okay.
Really?
Yeah.
At Meijer, it's
If
like
you
2.
if you clock out 10 minutes early, they'll give you a point, but at 9 minutes for whatever reason is the cutoff. But yeah, it would drag on longer if I had to stay to time or a little bit later because I got in the habit of clocking out early.
I'd say a bad habit for like if you're stocking or something at a grocery store, is getting lazy with like dating things.
Oh yeah.
I've done that before.
Oh, Ty.
I did it one time. There was this box of it was just full, and it was so inconveniently boxed to where it was like I had to pick everything up out of the box to get all the prices on the stuff. So I essentially just dated the 2 top things and then just set it on the shelf. Yeah, a manager will have your hide for that. Don't do that. And I think a good habit is just, always try to, get some decent sleep the day before because you're going to be running around the store a lot and, doing job things.
A lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking and, it's just, I would always recommend a good night's sleep because you always feel better anyway, but,
If you're starting a retail job, I recommend getting like some good shoes and compression socks.
Yeah.
Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah,
Scholl's.
definitely.
Because that like the first 2 weeks are like brutal for your feet.
Mm-hmm.
But
getting used to
And your
that
knees
walk.
too.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially at Meijer when it was like my
Same
first shifts
thing.
were like 5 to 8 hours.
I know this isn't a fast food episode, but same thing for fast food. If you're going to work fast food,
Yeah.
just be ready for
least-
your legs to ache.
Yeah, at least if they're long
Yeah.
shifts.
Yeah. If
Mhm.
you're working like
Yeah.
8 hours, you're just on your feet consistently. Alrighty. So I have a question. Have you guys had any scares in terms of machinery or cash handling or any of that? And if you have, what's the biggest one you had?
Oh my gosh. I think unless somebody else wants to go first, I have something. Oh man.
Do it.
It was my first month, and I was told this by my managers too, because I work at Meijer. I've already mentioned that, but I work at it's called the Hood one because it's in Flint, in the hood of Flint, so it's the ghetto one, and there's a lot of theft there, but there's still like professional scammers, and they watch for new people, especially when I'm in the garden center with little supervision. They watch new people, and this woman, I'm talking, she was a short, beautiful, mixed woman, probably in her early 30s, if that, and she's really sweet, and she wanted to get flowers and cards and Visa gift cards for her recently graduated nieces because it was around graduation time, and it didn't strike suspicious to me because I was new. She wanted to do 6 separate transactions, and each of those transactions was a little pack of flowers, the Visa gift card, and for each of those transactions, she had two $50 off the total transaction coupons to where she literally got the Visa gift card for free and then used probably somebody else's EBT card because you can pay with EBT for flowers some reason for the flowers. And she did that for 6 separate transactions. My dumb newbie self, it went right over my head. And this woman scammed me for $600 in Visa gift cards. I only didn't get fired because the coupons, the fake coupons that she gave me, registered through the registers like they were perfectly legitimate. And the scam was so new that the next day was when the higher-ups in my store even knew about it existing, which my managers took me into the back of the garden center and asked me questions to see if, like, just to double check and verify I wasn't, like, in on it or something. And I was completely clueless, of course. So they're like, "Oh, I guess it wasn't your fault, but you were scammed for $600." And this woman has been on the loose for a while. She probably got thousands of dollars worth of scammed Visa gift cards before she finally got caught.
Jeez.
Wow.
That was my first month.
Wow. Man, it's hard being a newbie. It really is.
It really is. They don't show no mercy on you, customers and employers.
Yeah. For me, there's not a whole lot of things that went wrong. I was kind of protected by the little phone that they gave me, just like, follow the instructions. When I did have to go to stocking, though, we had to deal with some lifts. And it just took us like 20 minutes before we actually could do anything because no one knew how to use it. So that was a pain in the butt. But that and there was like learning how to use the phone things that they give you was a little bit of a learning curve because there were certain things that you could and couldn't do, and sometimes before I knew it, you're not supposed to basically replace one item with a different item that's completely different unless it was a suggested substitution. So I would do that all the time, and then my manager eventually was like, "Hey, stop." And I was like, "Oh, all right." But yeah, it wasn't a huge deal. So
Yeah, I have two stories. One of them's short. It's not machinery, but because I was cutting up fruits and vegetables, there was a lot of risk for cutting myself with a knife, and I always had a cut glove on my left hand. And I'm a righty, so I held the knife in my right hand, and then I had a cut glove on my left hand. But there was one day where, I wasn't wearing a cut glove because I was doing something else, and then my manager started walking over, and so I was like, "Oh shoot, I gotta quick hurry up and make it look like I'm doing something, otherwise I know he's gonna, ask me way too many questions about what I'm doing right now." And so I started cutting, I think it was, I don't know, sweet potatoes or something. And right before he got up to me, I just sliced from halfway down my nail on my thumb, on an angle to the top. And so I basically cut off the tip of my thumb. And I didn't want him to know about it because I didn't want to have to go through all the protocol and stuff because I was so done at that point. I wanted to just quit. And so I just stood there holding my bloody thumb under behind the counter so he couldn't see it. And while he was asking me questions, I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll get it done. Yeah, I'll get some more pineapple in there. Okay." And then I went to the bathroom, and I was like, I don't do well with cuts. I feel like I could get shot and I would be fine, but I don't deal well with even little cuts. And so I was in the bathroom, sitting in the stall, trying not to pass out. It was horrible.
Yeah,
That was the only dangerous thing. The other story, I had to stay behind I think it was 2 hours 45 minutes or something close to that because there was some stupid number, $200-300 that had gone missing from my till when I was a cashier.
Oh, wow.
And just no explanation for it. And so my manager kept trying to reassure me that she knew I didn't steal it, but you could tell she was kind of suspicious still. And so stayed, and we're calling all the other people. It was 1 a.m. at that point, and so we're waking up all the managers and calling, trying to figure it out. And then I got a call at 6 a.m. the next day. She's like, "So yeah, I just forgot that I took money out of there and just forgot to count it, so you're good."
Wow.
I was so mad.
Oopsies.
At least I got paid for an extra couple hours of just sitting
Right,
back
yeah.
there
That
in the
sucks.
cash office. But
Did you get paid
Yeah.
for sitting back there waiting?
yeah, I didn't punch out. Are you kidding
see?
me?
Ah.
See?
Silver
So I
lining,
did kind of
boys.
steal from him in a way.
Gotta win sometimes.
So I actually have a pretty good one because at Aldi you deal with pallet jacks, but you also deal with a box compressor.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the freezer doing some stocking midday because we were out of a couple things. So I'm just throwing them up on the shelf, and I go to walk out of the freezer. So there's a direct line of sight from the freezer to the box compactor. I open the freezer and move the little wispy things. And one of my coworkers, who has since left, but I'm not gonna name her. She was stepping into the box compressor. So I start booking it to the box compressor. I'm like, what the hell?
Holy hell, she was trying to
Well, you got to
box
get over there and hit
herself.
the start button as soon as you can.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I book it over there. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, 'cause you don't step in box compressors.
See, at Meyer,
And she's like, I dropped a can in there. I'm like, it does not matter.
No.
don't step in it for a second.
So she's like, I just need to get these cans out. I'm like, I'm okay. So I stepped back and held my hand over the stop button.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
She's gonna get
So
compressed.
she's over there just grabbing the cans. I'm like, this girl's gonna die.
See, at Meyer, they had this like 200% accountability thing. So somebody just putting themselves in that kind of danger could get me in trouble like easy. If somebody like accidentally injured themselves or something, like, and I was around, especially if I witnessed it, I'd get fired just as well
I
as
didn't
them.
know what was going to happen on the cameras because, I mean, I came out of the freezer and just booked it to the boxer. Everybody's gonna be like, "What?" So, yeah, I don't know. It was pretty freaky. I'm like, this girl's gonna get crushed, but
It's been suicidal.
Oh my
or something.
gosh.
I don't know. I was like, that was wild.
Have
I'm
you guys
good.
ever seen what's it called? Superstore?
I had.
There's an
not.
episode where, the guy's like trying to get him to go in the box compressor because he wants to kill him. And he's like, self-harm is the way to go, man. Like, I don't know. It's pretty funny.
Not to veer off with too many box compressor stories, but my first impression of a guy that used to work at my Meyer for like so many years until he like left recently, he was a little daredevil. He just had no chill. My manager at the time was taking me on a tour of the store, and we end up at the box compressor, and he's there, and he accidentally puts plastic in it. We're not supposed to put plastic in it. He's like, hey, you just put plastic in there. And he was this like funny older slim guy with a funny voice like this. Like, oh, I'll get it. And he goes to climb in it to grab the plastic. And he's like, oh, no, you're on camera. Don't be doing that. You don't want to get fired. And I'm like new, so I'm like, oh wow, this guy's crazy already.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
jeez.
And now they
I'll
call him
get it.
Flat Jim.
Flat.
Jesus.
Giggity.
Some people, man, they're just suicidal. I don't know.
That's true.
So,
Called rednecks.
What?
It's like that joke, what's the last thing a redneck says before he dies? Hey, I'll look at this.
Hey, oh, look at this. Oh, boy. So, can retail be stressful, and how do you handle it on the clock?
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you guys something.
Let me tell you something.
Most stores close on Christmas, and Meyer's no exception. But Christmas Eve, almost everybody that works there is scheduled for that day. And that was probably, with coronavirus and stuff and all the regulations they've had, that made things stressful. But I still don't think anything matches up to Christmas Eve's at Meyer, because we close at like 7, and we get close. As we're getting close to 7, everybody, like all the general merchandising clerks, even people from grocery, produce, everybody that's register trained that's left on their shift at the end of the night has to jump on a register. So every single register up front is open, and every single register's line is stretched literally past almost to the other end of the store. And that store's big. So it's literally sitting on a lane for 2 hours going through this massive line until everybody is kind of like squeegeed out of the store, done shopping. And as long as you're nice to customers and retail, usually they're nice to you if you have a good attitude, like a genuine good attitude. I'm kind of an extrovert to customers, so it's easy for me. So that entire line I had was good, except for like one guy that was just complaining about some price on something,
Honey ham.
and he was so annoying about it that literally like 5 people in my line are calling, "Get out of here! Get the hell out of my store!" And but that is very stressful because you do not stop moving, and there's days where you don't stop moving. It's not just Christmas Eve, but that's the first thing I think about. Stress is holidays working there. Yeah. It's just madness.
4th of July was crazy.
4th of July is crazy too. Memorial Day for garden center is also really rough. Yeah. It's like, I think in one day I probably loaded 250 bags personally of mulch into somebody's car, off the pallets and skids into somebody's car.
Did that kind of stuff with salt pallets.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, retail is definitely stressful, and it's a kind of stress that you feel bad for talking about it, because you're like, well, other people, they're dealing with, all these other things, and people are fighting wars and getting shot at, and who am I to say, oh, I'm stressed at Meijer or Family Fair? But it is a real stress that you experience, and it's less of like I don't know, it's less of an like internal stress, I feel like, and more of like an external, like there's just a lot to do all at once, especially on like holidays. You said, I mean, even for working in produce, like holidays can be crazy. People are making fruit trays and putting in orders for bunch of stuff, and so it is stressful. And kind of the way that I deal with it usually is just kind of reminding myself that it really doesn't matter. Like, I go in, I'll do my work, I'll talk to customers, I'll be nice, I'll do a good job, but then I get to go home and, like, this stuff doesn't follow me. Like, retail doesn't follow you home unless you're, like, a manager or something. But so that's kind of part of it. And then also just making sure that I'm taking breaks and, talking to, like, coworkers that I like. Like, it was really nice to have this one guy I worked with named Tyler, who, like, we would just, from time to time, just like go in the back in like the produce room and just like talk crap about all the customers and the managers and stuff. And it's just kind of nice to like get that stuff off your chest, even if you're like, that you're just complaining about stupid things, but you just feel like you want to complain anyway because you don't want to be there. I don't know. It's good to always have some sort of outlet and way to calm yourself down in the moment, taking breaks and things like that.
It's a key to survival, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One thing, I like what you said. How do you deal with, is it stressful, and how do you deal with it on the clock? Because it's not it's not stressful when you're off the clock, to be honest. Not for me anyways. I mean, sometimes it's like you go home and you're like, oh man, I really could have handled that situation better.
Or you go home and you're like, I have to be at work again in like 2 hours.
that too. But very rarely do you stress over this kind of work off the clock. And when I'm on the clock, one thing I like to do was just like go into the walk-in cooler and just like exist for a couple minutes and just like have an existential crisis.
Just chill out.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because that was my answer also.
Yeah.
I was literally going to say, I just went in the freezer and just literally chilled. Literally. Like, you just sit there and go, and you, like, for me, I just didn't think about anything. I was just like, I can't. Just kind of sit there. Then you're like, all right, it's been 2 minutes. I got to get back to work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yep.
Well, anyway, that's all my questions.
Cool.
No más preguntas, señor.
Well, you want to close us out, Ty? Give us a thanks for watching.
Sure.
Thanks for listening.
Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for either watching or listening to the podcast, No Tomatoes Show podcast type thing. We had Bryce and Adam on today. Bryce is our beautiful drummer man, and Adam is our other singer and songwriter. So, yeah, it was a fun time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Instagram at No Tomatoes 101. You can email us at notomatosband@gmail.com. We've also got Spotify for the podcast, so make sure you follow that, Apple Music or Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are distributed. I hope you guys have a great week.